To everybody in the building. What's up, y'all? Yeah, I've been a little under the weather, man. But I most definitely got some breaking news for y'all, guys. As Democrats go in on Trump about capturing the Venezuelan president and his wife, as well as new allegations basically brought up against Will Smith, guys. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen, and most definitely hitting that like button. It's crazy, man. Everybody's feeling the way. We're going to kick it off with Will Smith. I also got, as a violinist, basically accuses Will Smith of actual harassment at the workplace, going as far to say that he was threatened, as well as being fired for not going along with what Will wanted him to do, man. It's crazy out here, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. Most definitely hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, man. This is Everything News. Yeah, man, your trap anchor man was a little under the weather, but I'm back now. Most definitely had to get with it. What's up? How y'all night going? Let me know, man. Late night news with Everything News, guys. Yeah, breaking news, man. Breaking news, man. I even got, like I said, when it comes to Will Smith, his accuser basically speaking out. I also have the Democrats, or one of the Democrats, basically speaking out against Trump in his recent capture of the president of Venezuela and his wife, guys. Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke on the situation as well. It seemed like they saying Trump violated the law, man. I'm just saying, they saying Trump violated the law by doing what he did because he didn't notify Congress that he was even going on this mission. He just kind of up and did it, man, which got a lot of people feeling a lot of ways. But like I said, let's start here with Will Smith, guys. We're going to start with Will Smith, and then we're going to work our way to Trump. All right, let me stop this music real quick. We're going to start right here, like I said, with Will Smith and his recent allegations. What's up with it, Leticia? What's up, Rena? We most definitely in the building, man. Make sure y'all double tap that screen if y'all have not. Yeah, man, I'm getting over a cold, man. I feel a lot better today than I did yesterday. I had to take me some time off, and basically get myself together. But, even in my absence, the news don't stop, and we most definitely here for it. So, we're kicking off the show with Will Smith and his recent allegations, guys. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. Everything News, good morning, Mahel, Mods, and chat. Family, Happy New Year's, everyone. Already Purple Groovy. What's good, Mahel and chat? Hope all is well with you all. What's up, Jalen, man? Yeah, everything's good, man. I'm getting over this cold I just had. Y'all make sure y'all double tapping that screen, man, hitting that like button as we get the show started with the recent allegations against Will Smith. And like I said, I don't know if y'all seen it on other channels, but I most definitely got a little clip of the guy that's accusing Will Smith, basically of actual harassment at the workplace. What's up, Chris? Shout out to you, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, share, and subscribe to the channel, man. Absolutely. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. All right, so this is a little bit of what the news had to say regarding this whole entire situation with Will Smith.
Will Smith claiming retaliation after he alleges that he was fired for reporting sexual harassment while on tour with Smith. Brian King Joseph filed the lawsuit in California earlier this week, accusing Smith of deliberately grooming him for sexual exploitation. Joseph says the two began spending time alone together during Smith's tour, and he says Smith allegedly told him that they had a, quote, special connection. It also details an alleged traumatic series.
So this guy on the right here is the guy that's accusing Will Smith, man, basically of actual harassment at the workplace and being fired for not going through with it.
Of events, that's a quote, including Joseph finding that someone had allegedly entered his hotel room while he was not there. After reporting the incident to police, he alleges a representative for Smith accused him of lying and fired him. Smith denies these allegations. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz joins us now. Liz, this is all new. What else are we learning about these allegations, including the alleged intrusion?
Yeah, Kate, so according to the complaint, this all happened in March of last year while the violinist was on tour with Will Smith for Smith's global tour.
This is crazy, guys. Diddy You know, then they turn around with Tyler Perry. Now they got Will Smith, man, under fire. I think Jada got a case of her own as well. This is crazy.
Latest album based on a true story. And according to the complaint, there was this intrusion at his Las Vegas hotel room. He came back to his hotel, he says, and found that there was no forced entry, but that someone had entered the room and left a number of items there. And according to the complaint,
what's up, EJ?
There was a letter, the handwritten letter that was written that said, "Brian, I'll be back, just us," with a drawn heart. And it was signed by someone who identified as Stone F. There were also wipes, a beer bottle, a red backpack, a bottle of HIV medication with another person's name on it, an earring, and hospital discharge paperwork.
A bottle, what? Of House in Virginia medicine. Hold up. A red backpack. What is going on?
The wipes, a beer bottle, a red backpack.
Let's go back.
It said, "Brian, I'll be back, just us," with a drawn heart. And it was signed by someone who identified as Stone F. There were also wipes, a beer bottle, a red backpack, a bottle of HIV medication with.
Whoa, wait a minute, guys. Wow. Whoa. Said somebody left a backpack with House in Virginia medicine in it, some wipes. And all. What is going on, man? Make sure y'all double tap that screen, man. Get the likes up. This is everything I know about the allegations that's being thrown at Will Smith, man. Double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button on your mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. This is Everything News, and we most definitely report on everything news. This is crazy.
With another person's name on it, an earring, and hospital discharge paperwork belonging to a person that was unknown to the defendant. So the defendant, his name is Brian King Joseph. He then reported this to police, the hotel staff, and he also said he reported it to Smith's management team. But he claims that he was then shamed by Will Smith's management team, accused of lying, and he says he was then fired. And then shortly after he was fired, they said they were going in a different direction, but then they ended up hiring another violinist. So he is now suing for, among other things, emotional distress and economic loss. Kate.
And Liz, how are Smith and his attorney responding?
Well, they're adamantly denying all of these claims. Smith's attorney has released a statement. We can read it here. It says, "Mr. Joseph's allegations concerning my client are false, baseless, and reckless. They are categorically denied, and we will use all legal means available to address these claims and to assure that the truth is brought to light." Okay.
This is
All right,
crazy.
Liz Kreutz, thank you so much.
Wow, y'all. So you get a little bit of what is going on. Shout out to Jackie, for that gift, man. Yeah, so you get a little insight on what's going on. Okay, I told y'all I had the violinist. I most definitely got him. This is the guy right here that is basically going after Will Smith, guys. He most definitely seems to be in the way of that way, in which he claims that Will was trying to get at him. But this is him and some of what he had to say about what's going on. He also alleges that there are other victims outside of him. And that's the reason why he's speaking out, because he knows that a lot of them may be scared to speak out. Check this out.
I just wanted to talk about something really important. Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. Unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was, because it's already a legal issue right now. But the reason why I'm speaking out about this is because getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that, simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work, is not okay. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there who have been afraid to speak up, and I understand. And if that's you.
He said, I know there's a lot of other people out there who have been scared to speak out, which means he's not the only one. Let him tell it.
I see you. And that's pretty much it. More updates to come soon. Thanks for listening.
All right. And this most definitely, he posted this on his Instagram. Let y'all hear it one more time.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to talk about something really important. Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was because it's already a legal issue right now. But the reason why I'm speaking out about this is because getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work is not okay. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there who have been afraid to speak up, and I understand. And if that's you, I see you. And that's pretty much it. More updates to come soon. Thanks for listening.
All right, so that was him in his own words on what he had to say. He said he couldn't go too far into details because, he got legal issues right now. He's most definitely suing Will Smith, guys. Some people saying it's a money grab. Hey, I don't know, but it's in the news, and I'm most definitely reporting on it. Make sure y'all take time to double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. All right, so let's get more into it. Let's view a little bit of what Law and Crime has to say about this whole situation. They come with the paperwork and all that good stuff, so let's take a look over here as they report on what's going on with Will Smith. Thank you guys for the gifts. I most definitely appreciate it.
Sued by a professional violinist who claims he was the victim of sexual harassment and retaliation.
Getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work is not okay.
We are going to go over the new complaint, the allegations, the potential evidence, whether this is potentially a strong case, and we are actually bringing on the attorney who has filed this lawsuit, and we're going to do it all for you right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Let's get into it, guys.
All right, so we wouldn't be able to bring you this episode if we didn't have the incredible support from our sponsor. That's right, the 57-year-old actor, musician. He has been sued by a professional violinist who appeared, or was going to appear, I should say, on Smith's tour. And this is a bombshell sexual harassment and retaliation lawsuit. Now, when I say that, you may have an idea of what the allegations are. Not quite. Got to explain. I'm going to go over the complaint. I'm going to go over the allegations, the legal claims. We will see if there is something here potentially. And remember, these are just allegations at this point. Smith has a right to defend himself. Nothing has been proven in a court of law. He has not been held liable. But we have to lay out what's here in this complaint. So first, I should tell you who's bringing this lawsuit. And that's interesting. This is a lawsuit that was filed out in California State Court on behalf of Brian King Joseph. Now, before I get into what he alleges,
he most definitely looks like one of those fun guys. I'm willing to bet, man. And I don't know what's going on with his 2 front teeth right here. Lord, have mercy.
First thing to note, his attorney, so the one filing this lawsuit on his behalf, is Jonathan Delshad. We just talked about him a few days ago because Delshad brought those lawsuits against actor and producer.
All right, so we got a connection. He's representing, the person who is representing Will Smith accuser is also representing the person who accusing Tyler Perry, guys. Wow, Tyler Perry just most definitely got him some allegations put on him. Now Will has allegations put on him, and the same lawyer is representing both cases, guys. Make sure y'all take time to double tap that screen, man. Get the lights up. It helps out the channel. I wouldn't be telling y'all. I ain't asked y'all for $1. I just asked y'all to hit the like button. Double tap that screen, if you have not, or click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up. Those are 2 ways you can hit the like button. It most definitely helps out the channel. Let's get the likes up.
Tyler Perry, on behalf of 2 men who claim they were sexually assaulted by Tyler Perry. We're talking about Mario Rodriguez. That lawsuit that was just filed only days ago, we broke down the entire thing on a previous episode of Sidebar. You can go check it out. But it is interesting that now he is representing another client suing a major celebrity figure in the entertainment industry. And as I mentioned, we are going to...
Is this Tony Busby all over again, guys? Is this guy the next Tony Busby? He represented a lot of people in the Diddy situation. It's going to be interesting to find out who this lawyer is.
Be bringing in Mr. Delshad in a minute to talk about this and him filing this lawsuit on behalf of Joseph. But back to Brian King Joseph, okay? First of all, you may know him because he apparently appeared on season 13 of America's Got Talent, made it to the top 3, so you might know who he is. Now, the complaint starts off by saying that if you don't know who he is a professional violinist who was employed by the defendants in this case in connection with a live music tour. So he acted as a musician and a crew member. Now I want to stop right there. First, He's not only suing Willard Carroll Smith. Yes, that is Will Smith's real name. Didn't know that.
I didn't know his name was Willard either. His name is Willard Carroll Smith. What an interesting name, guys. That's Will Smith's real name. But this is the official paperwork, guys, of the lawsuit that's being filed against Will Smith, guys. This is crazy. I did not know his name was Willard.
That's apparently his full name. But also, this management company that was associated with Will Smith, Trayball Studios Management. And this is the most important part. If you were wondering, well, is that part even true, right? Was there even a connection? Is he a complete stranger? There is video that Joseph posted on his Instagram back in December.
Where he was there with Will Smith. There he goes, the accuser, and there goes Will, guys.
December of 2024, showing him on stage, playing the violin, where Smith appears to come on stage and introduces him saying, Brian King Joseph, ladies and gentlemen. So this was posted December 15th, 2024. Now, Joseph claims that around November of 2024, he was contacted by Smith's people to come out to the actor's house for an introduction, for a potential recording opportunity. He apparently goes there, plays the violin for Smith, claims that Smith invited him to join him at a performance in San Diego, and then join his tour.
Come on, guys. Can we get the likes up over 100? Double tap that screen, guys. We need 50 more likes. Double tap that screen and click the three dots. Hit that thumbs up, man. Let's get the likes over 100. Double tap that screen if you have not, or click the three dots, hit the thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you are new, guys. We're going over everything we know about this new lawsuit filed against Will Smith, guys, by a professional violinist who says that he was actually assaulted and fired after not going along with Will Smith's advances, guys.
On a True Story 2025 tour. And he claims he played at that San Diego show, which, by the way, that video that I just mentioned seems to be from, because Joseph, in the caption to that, posts, still pinching myself, 2 sold-out nights with the one and only Will Smith at the Observatory North Park, which is in San Diego. So anyway, he claims that Smith wanted him to become more involved in the performances, that he was
He is most definitely a fun guy. You can look at him and tell.
Valued member of the team, that he wanted to provide him more stage time, that he even invited Joseph to play on Smith's tracks. And this is where Joseph claims that Smith said to him, quote, "You and I have such a special connection that I don't have with anyone else." And apparently more things to that effect. Keep that in mind. Now, this next part is very important for the legal case, okay? So Joseph claims that he was provided information about the upcoming global tour that he would be a part of, or seemingly would be a part of, that would last for several months, and, quote, in reliance, important legal phrase there, in reliance of that tour, Joseph allegedly told Smith's representatives that he's going to be spending all this money, thousands of dollars, for more music equipment, medication, and other things that he's going to need for the tour.
Wow. Remember, they just told us that a backpack was found that had House in Virginia medicine in it, some wipes, and some other stuff. So does this guy have House in Virginia? That's what I'm trying to find out, because it's saying that they saying that Will provided him with, or whoever provided him with medication and things that he would need.
Fast forward, March of 2025. This is the key month. So Joseph claims that he joined Will Smith for the Las Vegas part of the tour, and that all the hotel rooms for him and the crew, they were booked by the defendants. That no one besides the crew or hotel staff had access to his room. And he claims that he left his bag in the van that was moving the crew around.
That's his bag. It was his bag. So he most definitely has the house in Virginia. Take those letters, those initials, and you'll find out exactly what I'm saying. House in Virginia.
Place to place. And when he asked management to get his bag at 3 p.m., management claims they couldn't find it. But then 2 hours later, they allegedly came back with the bag. They found it. So then Joseph claims on the night of March 20th, he goes back to his hotel room and claims there was, quote, evidence that someone had, quote, unlawfully been in his room. He claims hotel security checked it out, said there were no signs of forced entry, meaning no one broke in, that the only people who would have been in there were supposedly Smith's management team, And if you're wondering, how can he prove this? Well, Joseph claims this was documented by phone calls between him and hotel security. So obviously, they would subpoena the phone records through the course of discovery, right, if this case advances. Now, I'm going to read you this next part from the complaint verbatim, because you may also be asking, well, how does he know that someone was in his room? Quote, the evidence included a handwritten note addressed to plaintiff by name, which read, Brian, I'll be back no later 5:30, just us, drawn heart, stone F. Among the remaining belongings were wipes, a beer bottle, a red backpack, a bottle of HIV medication with another individual's name, an earring, and hospital discharge paperwork belonging to a person unbeknownst to plaintiff. Plaintiff feared that an unknown individual would soon return to his room to engage in sexual acts with plaintiff.
Whoa.
Now, Joseph claims that he immediately notified security and Smith's team about what had happened.
Now, this is crazy. Not to down anybody that, has house in Virginia, but why would Will want to subject himself, to that type of situation, knowing already that this guy basically has that? That what has a lot of people questioning whether this is real or not. Man, y'all double tap that screen, get the likes up. All you have to do is double tap the screen on your mobile device or click those 3 dots in the right-hand corner. Hit that thumbs up, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. But yeah, this is what has a lot of people questioning whether this is legit or not. Like, bro, you already got house in Virginia. Why would Will Smith want to subject himself to that?
Quote, obtained photo documentation, so not sure if that means he took photos of the note and these items, because obviously that would be very important for his case, that he changed rooms and called the non-emergency police line as well. So if he can prove that all of that happened, and there are police and hotel records to confirm that, that is going to be very important. Now, I will say real quick, okay, a couple of questions. Who is Stone F? Is there surveillance footage from the hotel that can be subpoenaed to see who may have entered the room? I mean, this was supposedly only last year. And from a legal point of view, could Smith's defense attorneys argue that drawing a conclusion that someone wanted to engage in sex acts with Joseph is too far a leap based on this evidence, right? How do you connect that to Will Smith and his team exactly? I get it. They booked the rooms, but how do you connect that back to Smith? But I'm going to bring on Joseph's attorney in a little bit, so hopefully he can clarify a little bit about this. Joseph claims the next day, so March 21st, he goes back to LA to support the crew and the cast for a pre-recorded show. However, he alleges that Tim Miller, complaint doesn't really explain who that is, but Tim Miller talked to him and said, it's too late for you to come through the crew entrance, and that we'll just see everyone. We'll see you in New Mexico for the next part of the tour. But then Joseph alleges, a few days later, Miller blames him for what happened in that Las Vegas hotel room incident, and that Joseph was ultimately fired. Quote, when plaintiff requested for further reasoning, Tim Miller, acting on behalf of the defendants, redirected the blame for the termination onto plaintiff, replying, I don't know, you tell me, because everyone is telling me that what happened to you is a lie. Nothing happened, and you made the whole thing up. So tell me, why did you lie and make this up? Now that raises a pretty interesting series of questions, right? Did Miller actually say that to Joseph? And if so, was this a way to just, discredit Joseph? Or alternatively, why did he really believe that? Are there those refuting Joseph's narrative? In the complaint, Joseph alleges that he was shocked by this accusation from Miller, that he submitted evidence and a timeline, but, quote, defendant never made any effort to verify if the safety concern was true or not. One call to the hotel security would have been sufficient. Instead, defendant was intent on firing plaintiff because he reported...
Yeah, he most definitely out here acting like Jada. I agree, EJ. And not to mention, Jada is facing charges of her own, guys.
The attempted sexual assault. Miller also indicated in person and via email that the tour was, quote, moving in a different direction, which was part of the reason for plaintiff's termination. However, following plaintiff's report and termination, defendant hired another violinist to assume the same position on the tour. This hiring strongly suggested that defendant's stated reason for the termination was pretextual. And from there, the complaint reads, plaintiff further pleads on information and belief that defendant's conduct goes beyond a mere failure to protect an employee's safety or a dispute over a claim. Facts strongly suggest that defendant Willard Carroll Smith II was deliberately grooming and priming Mr. Joseph for further sexual exploitation.
Oh my goodness, say that Will was grooming this guy. Wow.
events, Smith's prior statements to plaintiff, and the circumstances of the hotel intrusion all point to a pattern of predatory behavior rather than an isolated incident. Defendant's actions caused plaintiff severe emotional distress, economic loss, reputational harm, and other damages. Plaintiff was also harmed as a result of the stress of losing his job. His health deteriorated, causing major psychological damage. Plaintiff suffered from PTSD and other mental illness as a result of the termination. Now, before I get into some early thoughts that I have on this and the actual legal claims and causes of action, Joseph did apparently post the following video on Instagram just days before this lawsuit was filed.
Which we just watched at the beginning of the show. But this is the accuser right here again in his own words, saying basically, you know, he can't say too much because he has legal procedures going on against Will, but basically kind of put out there that there were other people, you know, who Will has done this to that are scared to speak out.
This year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, you know, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. Unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was because it's already a legal issue right now. But the reason why I'm speaking out about this is because getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work is not okay.
So he didn't really get into who he was talking about or the legal claims before the filing was made public. Okay, before I get into the legal claims, if this did happen to him and he can prove it, and remember, when talking about a civil case, it's not a criminal case, the burden of proof is much lower at trial, it is upsetting. Okay, and you can see how much of a negative effect this would have had on him. However, I do have to ask, based just on the four corners of this complaint, is this a bit speculative? You know, attaching this one bizarre episode to Will Smith and a pattern of predatory behavior, is it too much of a leap? Is there enough connective tissue there? How can you suggest that Smith or his team were part of this or were responsible? Does there need to be more proof of sexual exploitation here? What were the other alleged comments that Smith made to Joseph over time? Is that one posted comment in the complaint, is that enough from Smith about a special connection? Is that overtly sexual? Is this just about an artistic connection? There's room there to debate. And while, of course, the complaint is more bare bones and claims can be further developed during the course of discovery and when information and evidence is exchanged, texts, phone records, email, surveillance footage, but is it too bare bones right now? You wonder if Smith will try to move for what we call in the law summary judgment on this. Basically, that there's no genuine issue for either a judge or jury to decide here. There's no legal claim. Not saying it would be effective, not saying it would work, but just reading the allegations as laid out, do they support a case?
Christopher says, I guess people will believe anything without proof. Well, this guy's saying that he got proof, Christopher.
Smith and this management company? Maybe, maybe not. But maybe I'm a little overly critical. We're going to bring on Joseph's attorney in a little bit, clarify this position. So stay tuned for that. Let me go through this, okay? These are the causes of action. So the first cause of action or claim is for retaliation violation of California law. Basically, the argument is it is illegal for an employer to fire or discriminate against an employee who reports on being sexually harassed. Now, again, Joseph will have to establish that he engaged in protected activity, namely properly reporting sexual harassment, and that this firing was due to that reporting. Again, Smith, I would imagine, would argue he didn't fire him because he reported sexual harassment. Maybe he was fired for a different reason, that we fired him because, you know, maybe we legitimately believed he made it up. Or we fired him because we didn't think that he was good anymore, right? The conversation that Joseph had with Miller, that's Joseph's allegations of that story. What would Miller say happened during that conversation? The timing of the alleged firing and the alleged incident is an issue for Smith, right? It's an issue for his team, though. That proximity, very close in time, could be difficult. And if they didn't properly investigate Joseph's, let's say there are legitimate claims, that could be an issue for Will Smith. The next claim is also for retaliation, but it's under the labor code. So it's similar, but the argument is that it's illegal for an employer to retaliate against an employee for revealing information that the employee reasonably believes violates state or federal law. Again, the idea of protected activity.
So this is everything that's listed in the paperwork, guys, against Will.
Same thoughts as above. The third cause, also similar, it's retaliatory termination in violation of public policy. So it's not based on a statute per se, but more California case law. that it has been California law to stop retaliation against employees who complain about workplace health and safety conditions. So it seems to be a broader claim. I did a quick look on this. It appears to be a viable separate cause of action in California. But again, you need that connectivity, right? That he was fired for reporting what he claims was a trespass into his hotel room, protected activity. And again, this will be very fact specific about what happened in that room, how he reported, what Miller allegedly said, what Smith and management, what they allegedly knew about this. The fourth claim is for what's known as a Bain Act violation, the Tom Bain Civil Rights Act. So it provides someone a right to sue if they believe their rights under the Constitution or California law have been interfered with. Here the claim is that Joseph had a right to report safety hazards and not be retaliated against. The rights he claims are protected by California labor law and the state constitution, a guarantee of personal safety and security. This is a notable section, quote, following these protected actions, defendants through their agents and representatives engaged in threats, intimidation, and or coercion by abruptly terminating plaintiff's employment.
Ooh-wee, man. Threats? Oh my goodness, not threats.
Falsely stating they were moving in a different direction and replacing him with another violinist. Again, fair to allege, but is what Miller allegedly did and the subsequent alleged termination, threats, intimidation, coercion. My opinion, I could be wrong. I think that needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, but we're in the early stages. Fifth cause of action, Ralph Act violation. So this is the Ralph Civil Rights Act of 1976. It protects people from violence or threats because of sex or sexual orientation. And the claim here is the alleged intrusion into his hotel room was a violent act or a threat or intimidation of a sexual nature. Quote, the circumstances, including the personal nature of the items left behind, the note addressed to plaintiff, and prior statements by Smith to plaintiff, such as, you and I have such a special connection, support the inference that plaintiff believed that the substantial motivating reason for the unlawful entry and related conduct was plaintiff's sex and or sexual orientation. Again, goes to the idea of, is that alleged statement from Smith overtly sexual and enough to establish that Joseph had a reasonably based belief and inference that he was fired and retaliated against because of sex and sexual orientation. Sixth, we have sexual harassment in violation of the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, which essentially protects employees from harassment or discrimination. The actual excerpt from the code says it makes it illegal for an employer or any other person because of sex to harass an employee. Further states, an employer may also be responsible for the acts of non-employees with respect to harassment of employees. And here Joseph claims that he was employed by the defendants. He was working out of California for preparing for the tour. That's why, by the way, it's California law violation, California jurisdiction, that someone broke into his hotel room while on tour for the defendants. So we're talking about a course of employment. And there was allegedly a note that was left with the intent to engage in sex acts, according to him, a note that was left in a hotel room that was assigned and arranged for by the defendants. They allegedly didn't do anything about it after Joseph reported on it, and he was fired for it. Now, throughout the complaint, Joseph discusses the harm that he allegedly suffered and the damages that he believes he's entitled to. So allegedly severe emotional distress, fear of his safety, an economic loss, PTSD, damage to his reputation, claims that he's entitled to a wide array of economic damages. And I will say this, the harm suffered could be the strongest claim, because if he can properly allege everything above, right, and that he was fired for reporting a legitimate workplace safety issue, then it may be an easier road to prove how he suffered financially and people calling him a liar and that he reaches this opportunity and for it to be taken away in this fashion. Probably will require him to testify, but just initial thoughts on that. Now, at the time of this recording, I haven't been able to see a statement that was released on Will Smith's part from his representatives. However, according to People magazine, Smith's attorney, Alan B. Grodsky, said, quote, Mr. Joseph's allegations concerning my client are false, baseless, and reckless. They are categorically...
So Will is saying this is not true, guys.
...denied, and we will use all legal means available to address these claims and to ensure that the truth is brought to light. Now, I will also say this. This lawsuit comes at a precarious time for the actor, right after the fallout from the Oscars Chris Rock travesty, him reportedly trying to do these collaborations with influencers online. You do wonder if his side will say, you know what, Joseph launches this lawsuit out of all times right now. There's a strong chance that it'll accuse Joseph of instituting this lawsuit at a time when Will Smith's career reputation may have taken a bit of a hit. So it's like piling on. I mean, on top of this, remember, this lawsuit comes in the wake of Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, being sued in a $3 million lawsuit by her former...
So I've been telling y'all, Jada got things going on of her own. They finna expand on it a little bit right here.
Associate who alleges that she threatened him and demanded he sign an NDA. So the timing here is very important. It always will go to issues of credibility. Let's see how it plays out. Okay, so now I want to break this down a little bit further with the attorney who is representing Mr. Joseph and who has filed this lawsuit.
Hey guys, can we take time to get those likes up? Continue to double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device. That's a way to hit the like button if you have not, or click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys, as we get further into this. Let's get the likes up.
On his behalf, Jonathan Delshad. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really, really appreciate it. My first question is, why file this lawsuit right now, right before January 2026? Was it strategic to file at this time?
You know, it's not a strategic move on this case. The truth is, it's just, I had a little bit of extra time during the end of the year. It's quiet in the office. I'm able to get a lot of more work done without people interrupting me here and there. So, no, I mean, we've been working on this case for quite a while, and it's not a strategic, it wasn't a strategic decision to do it towards the end of the year, but it was more a function of when I had the mental capacity to finish it out, get it done, get it ready, and get it filed.
Gotcha. How's your client doing, by the way? I mentioned before that there was a video that he released before the lawsuit was filed, and then afterwards there was an Instagram story where he was talking about the support that he has received. So in the wake of filing this lawsuit and it being publicized, and it's been in the news cycle now for like 24 hours, how's he doing?
Yeah, you know, I've spoken to him, and without getting into too much.
So this guy here is the lawyer for Will Smith's accuser. This is the lawyer who brought up these charges against Will.
Attorney-client communication. You know, he is very thankful for support that he's getting. It's a lot. You know, this story has caught the attention of a lot of media, and a lot of people are talking about this, and he's getting a lot of messages, and people are asking him to come on their shows and talk about the case and talk about things that are going on. And right now, you know, I've been counseling him just to sit tight. Let's just let things kind of blow over. And if at a later time he wants to, he can. But, you know, it's a lot right now, and a lot of people are emailing him. But he is very thankful for the amount of support that he's getting. It's a tough thing to go through, you know. Somebody like him, although he has been in America's Got Talent, he has had some fame. Putting yourself out against somebody the likes of Will Smith is not an easy thing to do. And so it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of guts to do what he did. And he felt it was the right move to do, and I think it is as well.
No, that's 100% true. And you and I both know from a legal perspective, to make a very public case and a very public claim against a high-profile celebrity, when there are avenues in the law where someone could file a lawsuit anonymously. I'm not saying that's what your client wanted to do or not, but sometimes there's an avenue. You know, that goes to a clear issue of credibility, and it goes to a clear issue of why do this. I did have a couple of questions for you as I was breaking it down, the lawsuit, and I was hoping you could clarify them. So obviously a part of this lawsuit is narrative, if this goes to trial, is going to be understanding what happened in that hotel room. The part that I'm struggling with and I'm trying to understand is how you connect it back to Will Smith. So on one hand, I understand that it was, you know, the defendants, right? Him and this management company together that were part of booking the rooms for this tour. But the idea of that, what your client claims he found in that room was a form of sexual harassment that was tied back to Will Smith because of a comment that he made, or maybe even a series of comments, even though it seems like there was only one that was listed, and that he, you know, that he was fired because of that. I think that's I'm struggling understanding the connective tissue back to Will Smith. If you could explain it to me.
Sure, and I don't want to get ahead of my skis here, because, you know, again, we haven't done discovery. We don't know what the facts are going to bear out. But again, the allegations here so far, I think the main allegations in our complaint are that some type of retaliation for reporting sexual harassment. So that's the main thrust of the arguments here. Again, what was written on the note, that was allegedly
What's
written
up,
on the note,
guys,
everything I'm
man?
going to say is allegedly because it's all based on complaint information and belief at this point in time. I've seen some of the evidence. What was allegedly written on that note and what was presented to him and what Mr. Joseph, my client, reported to his employer, in my mind, is a clear reporting of sexual harassment. And so that's where we think that the case is the strongest, and that reporting was then taken to and reviewed by management. And then after that, he was just completely wiped off the tour. So, I mean, he was headlined in one of the earlier concerts that they did with Will Smith, and Will Smith brought him on stage with fanfare and people loved him. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't need a violinist anymore, and then they went ahead and hired another violinist.
Right. Does your client have an idea of who wrote that note?
He doesn't. We've done some independent research into it, and I don't want to disclose that at this point in time.
Totally fair. Is there anything you can say whether or not the person who wrote that note is somehow connected to Will Smith? I know can you say anything about that?
I can't say anything. I think that's going to be something that Discovery is going to bear out.
Okay.
And we're going to have to find out later in this case. I mean, we have our theories, we have our beliefs, and I think you're spot on, by the way.
Nobody said this had anything to do with Trump, guys. Trump's part is coming up next after this. So to all the people that's coming through saying, what does this have to do with Trump? Nothing. Trump has to do with the Venezuelan president and his wife being basically captured and brought before an American jury today. That's what Trump got going on. We'll get to that in a second. Right now, we on Will Smith.
That's the critical question in this, in tying it back, meaning can we tie that back to Will Smith? But I think that there's a second option as well. That's just for the sexual harassment part of it. For the reporting, clearly it got back to Will Smith. I mean, that the reporting was reported to the tour.
Sir, my title is about Will Smith as well. It says Will Smith accused. Do you want to be deported out of this chat? We got more rockets than Elon Musk, and we deport people faster than Trump. So I suggest you chill out, because it also says something about Will Smith. Let me do my content, and you just view. How about that? Talk about what's on the screen. Don't talk to me.
Manager, the right-hand man.
Is that Tim Miller, by the way? Is that Tim Miller?
Tim Miller.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And so that, that's, I assume you're not asking about that, about the retaliation for the reporting. I'm assuming you're asking about, did he know that was in there? And then the question becomes, why is he retaliating for reporting? And that's
all right.
the question.
Okay, no problem. Redbird, let's deport Redbird. Let's get him right up out of here. Congratulations, my guy. You just got deported. We'll holler at you. We sent you, get the rockets in the chat, guys. Get the rockets in the chat. This guy just got deported. He asked for it. We gave it to him. We'll holler at you. See you later.
Yeah.
So I have a made a question. So let me first start with the
Thank you,
Tim Miller
Solid.
part, because you brought it up. And based on that perceived alleged conversation, couldn't an argument be, and I understand your argument would be they didn't even properly investigate his claims. They didn't even look into it. They should have spoken to at least hotel security. That wasn't done. That was the minimum that was required. I imagine based on the complaint, Tim Miller would say either A, your client was let go because they decided to go in a different direction in terms of a violinist, or B, that they believe that he made all this up. Why, and if that's what's alleged in the complaint, why would Tim Miller claim that your client made up this whole Las Vegas hotel room incident?
Why would he claim? I have no idea why he would make that claim. I mean, that's something that we're going to have to bear out in Discovery. But that's precisely what goes to this concept of pretext, right? When something just doesn't make sense, when you're like looking at typically when an employee is hired to do a job and they're doing it well, the employer is happy with that employee and they want to continue employing them. They're making money off of them. And so at a certain point, if something happens and they just, for weird reasons, let go of the employee, you got to look back at the employer and say, is that the real reason they're doing this? Is there something else going on here? And so that's kind of precisely what we're going on with here, is that it just doesn't seem plausible that you would let somebody go for reporting this unless there was something bigger going on.
I guess the question is, do you know of anybody that would support Tim Miller? Like there were cast or crew who said, listen, yeah, I thought Joseph was making this up. Like, do you know of anybody that is going to come forward and say that? Because that seems to be, based purely on that conversation, that Tim Miller was told by someone or several people that this wasn't true, unless you're saying this is completely, he doesn't have anybody.
I mean, all Tim Miller would have had to have done was call security at the hotel, and they would have pulled up the cameras, and you would see that it was true. And that's it. It was very simple. So to say that it was being made up, I think he's...
So if you're just now coming in, we're most definitely going over this situation with Will Smith and this violinist who has basically put allegations on Will of sexual harassment, guys. His attorney is the one that's speaking on the situation right now. Make sure that you're double tapping that screen. If you just got here, you haven't hit the like button, double tap the screen on your mobile device. That's how you hit the like button. Or you can click the 3 dots and hit the thumbs up, guys. That's another way to hit the like button. Most definitely step on that like button. It helps out the channel, or I wouldn't keep on asking y'all to do it, guys. Hey, Miss D, make sure y'all getting those likes up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new, if you like the brand of entertainment that you are getting, guys.
I don't know if that's the argument they're going to make when we take Tim Miller's deposition. I don't know if that's what he's going to say. He's going to say something else. But if that is what he says, I mean, why didn't you just do a quick call to the security department? That,
this is the guy's attorney right
security.
Here.
Very tight.
I was going to ask you, did you have an opportunity to review the surveillance footage to see who may have entered your client's room?
We know that there's surveillance footage out there.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I just want to go back to Will Smith.
So they saying that basically they have surveillance footage of whoever entered that room and took the backpack and then dropped the backpack back off, guys. Maybe that's what ties Will to this whole situation.
For a second. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there was one comment that was listed in the complaint, and this is an overarching claim of sexual harassment. To be clear, is your client alleging that Will Smith ever sexually harassed him or propositioned him in any way?
I don't think that's not the claim that's being made in our complaint right now.
100%, but
all right, so in the lawsuit, we just heard the lawyer say that they're not saying that Will Smith actually propositioned or came on to the violinist. So then that leads people to ask then why the lawsuit against Will if Will had nothing to do with it.
The comment that Will Smith allegedly made to him was put there for a reason. No, it was that comment that he allegedly made, and I believe there was even a reference to other unidentified comments that would give him rise to believe that whatever was left in his hotel room went to this claim of sexual harassment in a way.
Right. I think that remains to be seen. I'm not, again, I don't want to get ahead of my skis on that. Those are facts that are going to come out in discovery. And you're asking me to kind of hypothesize on what may have happened in this case. And again, as an attorney, our job is to advocate for our clients, to figure out the facts. At this point, the only side of the story I know is from what my client tells me.
Sure.
We want to do the discovery. We want to get into the weeds of this case. We want to figure out exactly what happened, who was involved in this. And, there's ways that we can figure that stuff out. And slowly as things come out, we're happy to come back on and give you updates and let you know what we found. But I don't want to get ahead of my skis on this stuff.
Totally fair. But let me just ask you this. Was there another quoted comment that Will Smith allegedly made to your client that you know about that you could have included in the complaint? Because it was just that one, and I think there was reference to there were other comments that might have been made that were similar.
Yeah, so y'all saying that it's false in the payout. Now remember, at the beginning of the program, and I told y'all that this same attorney is also the attorney that is representing the guys who are suing Tyler Perry, or one of the guys that are suing Tyler Perry for a similar situation, guys. Yeah, he is most definitely an attorney for one of the guys that is suing Tyler Perry for sexual harassment, guys.
Similar to that. Do you know if there were other comments that Will Smith allegedly made to your client in that vein?
Again, I'm not trying to be cheeky or anything like that. I actually don't recall if my client told me other things or maybe I wasn't focused on it. It could be that I was made aware of other things and I decided not to put them in there. I wasn't hyper focused on that issue. Just again, because when we're dealing with complaints and sometimes we do leave stuff out of complaints because we want to prove them later. And in California, you don't need to, specifically plead every little fact that's involved. So at this point, I don't recall why it was that I maybe only included that one statement. I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but I don't want to.
Totally fair. I just was curious. Yeah. What is your client hoping for at this moment? Is his goal to, what is his goal at the end of the day by filing this lawsuit, making this public, potentially taking this to trial? There's multiple causes of action. When you're dealing with these kinds of causes of action, there could be, quite a hefty damages award if this goes to trial. What is he looking for at this point?
Look, my client, like all clients, that at the end of the day, they're not the ones who brought this. It's always, a lot of times people ask the plaintiff's client, well, you brought this lawsuit. No, we didn't. When the defendant acts in a certain way that's contrary to the law, the plaintiff has the right to bring a lawsuit to get justice. It's a better system than, other countries have where, justice is fought out with weapons or other things, right? This is the way that he gets to vindicate his right to be free from retaliation in the workplace or be free from sexual harassment in the workplace. These are the ways that he gets to retaliate. So, it wasn't he that made this public. They acted in a certain way towards him, which caused this lawsuit to happen. Now, what does he want? Like all clients, they want justice, right? They want whatever the law thinks is fair for them. And so in this case, we didn't even put a dollar figure in the complaint. We want the jury to decide on their own what they think that his damages were. And whatever his damages were, that's what he's looking for. I mean, he's not looking to hurt Will Smith or cause him any more unnecessary pain or suffering or anything like that. But at the end of the day, he wants justice for what happened to him. He had a career trajectory that was looking really good when he got hired for this tour, and everything went sour as soon as he reported this issue. So that's kind of, how do you make him whole? How do you come up with that number? That's something that a jury's really good at doing after listening to the evidence. But, we have a long ways to go till we get there.
And finally, before I let you go, there's a big part about this complaint about the harm that your client suffered, right? The financial harm, the emotional distress, the PTSD. What, if you can describe, what has life been like for him since his time on the tour ended?
Well, it's kind of a hard thing for me to pinpoint or describe, but I could see it. There's, sometimes clients come to my office and some clients, they've been terminated. In my practice, 98% of the people that call my office, I don't take their case. I'm a very, very selective attorney. I take very, very few clients. And when they come to my office and we talk about their case, and I get to see certain emotions depending on who they bring with them. Sometimes people bring people for support to the office. They'll bring a friend, they'll bring a mother, a brother, or a spouse. And you can kind of ask them and talk to them and say, how has he been after this, this situation? And I'll tell you, there's a range, there's a spectrum. And some people, they bounce back really quickly. They get fired from a job, no problem. 2 days later, they're on to another job and they're feeling good. And some people, go through a deep, dark depression. Losing a job, when somebody has a job, they think about hope and they think about the future and they think about how great life is. And when that gets taken away from you, especially when it's taken away from you in a way where you feel like it was unfair, it leaves a big hole. And some people have a harder time being resilient and bouncing back from that, and some people don't. And so a lot of people look at it and they say, why doesn't he just get back up and find another job, do something else, move on with his life? That's easier said than done for some people. But we got to be sensitive to some other people who have it a little bit harder. For Mr. Joseph, from what I've seen, he's on the harder end of it. It really affected him for quite a while. And so obviously, as time goes on, everything gets a little bit easier. The pain dulls. But from the spectrum of clients that I see in my office, he was on the higher end, I would say.
Well, listen, Mr. Delshad, thank you for taking the time, breaking it down for us, coming on to appear. I would like to continue the conversation as this case progresses, but I really, really appreciate it and you answering some of our questions about this. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, so that was everything we know about the Will Smith situation right now. I'm really having a hard time trying to see how Will ties in all of this, but we'll most definitely have to keep an eye on it, and see how it goes, man. As the violinist basically is trying to sue Will Smith for sexual harassment, and basically someone coming into his room and taking his belongings, guys, and basically being fired for not cooperating with the actual activity they wanted him to participate in. So that's everything I have with Will Smith as of right now, guys. Okay, let's get to Trump. Since people have been coming in here talking about what does it got to do with Trump, the Will Smith situation had nothing to do with Trump at all. But Trump, basically is getting a lot of blowback, from the Democrats in Congress, who said that Trump did not let them know that he was basically launching, he was going to send the troops to Venezuela to basically capture the president, and that is against the law. Basically it's unconstitutional for him to do what he did. Here goes one of the Democrats speaking on this whole entire situation. Let's go.
The House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, we saw Schumer there. He calls this a violation of the law, but he never actually explained what law he was referring to there. So what's the real complaint in your eyes?
Well, the complaint is that Trump did it, to be candid. The reality is that if Congress wanted to make it illegal for troops to leave the barracks without a congressional vote, they could do so. But we've never done anything. As a matter of fact, the only law it guides us is an 1878 law after the Civil War that limits military use in the United States. But the reality is, when the FBI or the DEA is trying to apprehend somebody overseas, they're free to use any of the...
Let's take time to double tap that screen, guys. Let's get those likes over 200, man. Double tap the screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the three dots, hit the thumbs up. It ain't rocket science. It's easy. It don't cost you $1. All you have to do is double tap your screen or click those three dots in the right-hand corner, hit the thumbs up, guys. This is what I'm hearing when it comes to the Democrats and Trump, as well as I got an interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she speaks on this whole entire situation as well, with Trump capturing the president of Venezuela and his wife and bringing them before an American jury, guys, into the American court system.
Sources that we can make available. In this case, the appropriate...
Trump says them being captured is about the drugs, and other people are saying that Trump basically did this to gain Venezuela's oil. What do y'all think?
Resources included Delta Force, and they did a splendid job.
Congressman, how much of a detailed briefing do you think that members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, should get about this?
Well, to be candid, as a whole, Congress should not be briefed. Subsets, the token leadership, if you will, and perhaps a select intelligence committee, they tend to be a little better at keeping secrets. But the reality is that you don't brief Congress on something you're about to do that, if it becomes discovered, can cost many American lives. In this case, no American died because this secret was kept by those who knew about it, and they were able to get in at the right time. And I think one thing that's pretty important, and Secretary Rubio and the president, they all said it, which was day after day, they had to move it. If they had briefed Congress 5-6 days ago, that secret would have been out, and then it would have been a question of what changes they'd have to look at that Maduro would have done had he known that we were just waiting for the right weather.
Congressman, sort of on the same note as Rich was taking, what about briefings going forward on how Venezuela will be, quote unquote, run by the United States? Congress has a lot of questions about how things will go forward. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. And, Jason and I both at different times chaired the Oversight Committee. We have an obligation to ask those questions. The one thing I'm confident, though, is that President Trump has made it clear he's not going to do nation building, that this is interim, that's not the business he's in. But as somebody who did business in Venezuela years ago when the private sector was welcome and foreign companies were welcome, the reality is I see the vast majority of people fleeing back from here to Venezuela for this opportunity. I don't think we're going to need to do much more than simply make sure that the old regime doesn't go back to their tactics of oppression.
Congressman Jason Chaffetz here. Good to see you.
It's good seeing you, Chairman.
Some Democrats are claiming our adversaries now have permission to arrest whoever they want in other countries. Have a look.
Russia and China just learned that all you need to do if you want to go into Estonia is to say that the leader of Estonia is a bad person. You don't even need to make a particularly good case. Look, there's no national security expert saying that Venezuela was a mortal threat to the United States 3 weeks ago. So what China and Russia just learned is that the beacon of liberty and rule of law in the world has now green-lighted snatch and grab operations in Estonia, in Taiwan, wherever Xi and Putin decide they want to go next.
Break that down for us, that ridiculous argument there.
Well, the first thing is, of course, Russia will, pick up a basketball player or anybody they need as a hostage and call it an arrest. So they didn't need new permission to do that. And second of all, this was not anything but a well-documented case of somebody who the world had a chance to say, oh, no, you're wrong. When Maduro was indicted in the 2020, and the entire Biden administration, if he'd felt it was wrong, instead of increasing the bounty on President Maduro, he could have eliminated it. He certainly didn't. So it's not a partisan thought. It's not just an American thought. And the reality is, for the Venezuelans around the world, and million plus in the United States, we've done something extremely important that's even more important than just the drug trade. We've given an opportunity for this country to be prosperous again and a democracy again. And I knew it when it was, and I believe that it will be again.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you.
Hey, Sean. All right. So we heard from the congressman, man, basically saying, hey, man, in certain situations, Congress doesn't need to be brief. But the Democrats most definitely feel like, that they should have been told about this whole situation. All right. Let's go over here to Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she spoke on this situation. Now, y'all know she's stepping down from Congress, and yesterday was her last day as far as being a congresswoman. But she most definitely gave an interview about this whole entire situation with Venezuela and all of that. She says they're going over there and basically their situation was not putting America first. Check this out.
For being here. We heard from the president today when it comes to what's next for Venezuela and just defending this decision overall. He told NBC News, quote, MAGA loves it. MAGA loves what I'm doing. MAGA loves everything I do. MAGA is me. You voted for this president 3 times. Is this what you voted for?
Not only did I vote for the president 3 times, I was one of the few Republicans that stood by him early on when the rest of the Republicans turned their back on him. I also campaigned all over the country for him and attended many of those rallies where the campaign promises were no more foreign wars, no more regime change, and putting the American people first. Caitlin, those are the things that I believe on and have stood on in principle, not only in principle, but by actions as well. I never voted to fund Ukraine. I never voted to fund any of the foreign wars, and I worked hard to get rid of foreign aid and funding foreign governments and foreign people. That's what I believe in. However, it is concerning to see what's happening and the direction that the Trump administration is moving in. We can say, thankfully, that Maduro has been arrested. We can say we're happy for the Venezuelan people, but we can also look to all the regime changes before in Iraq and Libya and Syria, and we said the same things for the people of those countries. But then we watch those countries fall into turmoil and civil war, and we watch the rise of ISIS and terrorism, and we watch U.S. troops remain in those countries for a very long time, and many flag draped coffins come home. And that's what many Americans don't want to see happen. And tonight it is disturbing to see the latest news coming out of Venezuela, where there is chaos and possibly some sort of civil war or sort of chaos and disruption happening.
This is crazy, guys.
And we care about people, but we care about our country too, Caitlin. And to me, America first is what matters most, and the American people matter most. And I believe the focus should be strong domestic policy to help Americans afford life, afford health care, health insurance, be able to buy a home, an affordable home, and live the American dream. And so I unapologetically support America first. And as an American, it's okay to disagree with the president that I helped get elected, and it's okay to disagree with other Americans. But what's not okay is for our government to put their full focus on foreign countries.
Do you think that Marco Rubio, Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance should be running Venezuela, as the president puts it?
Hey guys, if you're in the building, double tap that screen, get the likes up. If you're on a mobile device, all you have to do is double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button. It helps out the channel. Or you can click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is everything that I'm hearing and seeing regarding Trump and the Venezuela president being captured, guys.
I would like to see our elected president and vice president and his administration running America. I think that's most important for the American people and our interest. And we have real problems here at home. We're nearly $40 trillion in debt. They've done a great job stabilizing inflation that was record high under the Biden administration. They've done a wonderful job securing the border, and I love seeing the crime statistics go down. But I would like to see a continued focus on domestic policy that helps the American people. That's the country that they are supposed to be running, and I hope that the United States of America is the country they stay focused on running.
The White House is arguing they can do both, basically, that they can deal with what's happening in Venezuela and also address those other campaign promises. Do you see it that way if there's not really a clear plan that's been laid out, at least so far, for what happens next in Venezuela?
Again, from an America First standpoint, Caitlin, Venezuela belongs to the Venezuelan people, and they should elect their own government leaders. We have elected our government leaders, the Trump administration, and we've elected them to run America, not to be globalist, not to run other countries, not to pursue regime change and foreign wars. We very much need our government and our government leaders to focus on the American people and the issues that we care about on Main Street, USA.
It sounds like you think the president is breaking a campaign promise.
I know the campaign promises that I made, Caitlin, and that's America First. And I've stuck with those. I've said no more foreign wars, no regime change. That's why I always voted against it and never voted to fund any of the foreign wars. That's why I'm able to say I don't think this is a good thing. Of course, we want the people of Venezuela to have freedoms, and we want them to have a good, stable government. And of course, Maduro is a bad guy, and administrations in the past, the Biden administration before that, all were putting out bounties on his head. Of course, I can say killing Americans with illegal.
Remember, there was $50 million bounty on Maduro, whatever his name is, on his head.
Drugs is bad, and I'm fully against it, and that's why I impeached Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Those were my articles of impeachment that passed the House. So I can have all of those views and at the same time say I very much want our American president and his administration to focus on America first.
You have been very outspoken as a member of Congress. As of tomorrow morning, you're no longer going to be a member of Congress. How do you plan to hold a role if you're no longer in that position of power? What do you think that looks like for you going forward?
Well, thankfully, I get to be an American citizen, just like I was before I became a member of Congress. Before I became a member of Congress in January of 2021, I had never held any political position. I was just a business owner, raised 3 kids, and enjoyed American life. And thankfully, that's something that I'll be able to enjoy once again. And being an American is such a privilege. We have such great freedoms and rights, and I'll use my voice to always defend those. But I've thankfully held the job title representative, Caitlin, and I think the job title speaks everything for the job. And so it's my hopes that whoever's the next representative for the great 14th district of Georgia will take that job title seriously, because I think that's something that's lost in Washington, D.C. Everyone goes to Washington and they get lost in all the special causes and the lobbyists in the hallways and the foreign interest and the committees, and they lose sight of the people back at home. And I never lost sight of the people back at home. They always were number one to me, and I really enjoyed going home as much as possible. So Caitlin, I'm very thankful that I get to spend more time with my family and friends and hold the very proud title of U.S. citizen.
Well, 2 of the biggest things you've spoken about as in your last few weeks and months as a representative was Jeffrey Epstein and how the Justice Department has handled that, and also healthcare. We heard from your colleague AOC, who was saying she believed the Venezuela move is about oil and regime change. And she said, quote, "They need a trial now to pretend that it isn't, especially to distract from Epstein plus skyrocketing healthcare costs." Is that something that you...
Oh, wow, saying that this is the distraction from Epstein. Do y'all think this is the distraction? Just like I said, a lot of people believe that this was unnecessary, and others say this was just to take Venezuela's oil.
Agree with?
I wouldn't say that it's meant to be a distraction. I think those are all separate issues. So no, I don't necessarily agree with what she said. I signed my name on the discharge petition to release the Epstein files because I fully stand with women who were raped as teenagers. And releasing those files was a campaign promise. That was something that MAGA voted for, and the American people across political spectrums believe in and overwhelmingly demanded. So I'll never apologize for that, even though the president called me a traitor for standing with those victims. I think that healthcare is a separate issue, and it's extremely important. The Democrats created Obamacare and they passed the ACA tax credits. I didn't vote for those, and that has driven the cost of healthcare and health insurance to be unaffordable for many Americans. And it is a serious issue, and that's why I have pushed hard on my own party and the Speaker of the House, because Republicans have never presented an alternative plan, even though Mike Johnson said over and over again that he would have one on day one. And I think that's a complete failure to the American people. It's a serious issue, and Republicans can't dismiss it. But another serious issue is regime change and foreign wars. And I really hope to see the American people push back and say, let's focus on the United States of America, Mr. President, because that's what the American people deserve.
On the Jeffrey Epstein release, we still haven't seen the administration fully comply with the law that Congress passed to release all of those files. They say they're still going through millions of them, that it could take maybe until the end of January. It's not really clear. Do you trust that they will ultimately release everything they are legally required to put out there?
At this point, Caitlin, after serving under the Biden administration and now under a Republican Trump administration, many things in Washington stay the same, no matter who is in charge. And I think that's something that most Americans have come to realize. So I won't trust anything happens until I actually see it happen with my own eyes. But I certainly hope for the women that were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein and other rich, powerful, elite men. I hope for them that the files do get released, and they are the ones that will know when it happens.
Do you have a parting message for your fellow lawmakers here in Washington, namely Republicans, your party?
My parting message for everyone is that we really need to join together and put America first. I'm one that has been vocal about being very tired of the toxic nature of politics because the division is causing us more problems. It isn't fixing any of our problems. So what I would say is I would encourage all lawmakers to look within themselves, examine their job title, which is representative, and work together to do good for the American people, because it's the American people that elects them. It's the American people that pay taxes, that pay for our government, and it's the American people that they swear an oath to serve. And so that would be my parting message for lawmakers. But my parting message would be for my district, Caitlin, and that's thank you for the honor of the lifetime, allowing me to serve them in the 14th district.
And have you made any decisions about whether you will run and seek higher office?
You know, I've been asked that over and over again, and I've said it over and over again. No, I have no plans to run for any other political seat at this time. You know, politics has not been a safe place for me. Today, on my last day in office, we received another death threat on my life and had to talk with Capitol Police about that. And it's extremely unfortunate.
Dang, she received another death threat on her life, man. Lord have mercy, man. Now remember, that was part of the reason why she said that she's stepping down, because she feels like Trump put a target on her back.
And you know, it's something that I've brought up over and over again, how many death threats that I've had, not only on myself but also on my family, swatting, pipe bomb threats, and so many more things. And I've brought that up because it's extremely important to talk about. Serving in Congress or serving the American people in any capacity, whether it's local, state, or federal level, should not come at such a high cost.
Yeah. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you for joining us tonight.
All right, so she says she feels like that wasn't putting America first, guys. A little bit more from Marjorie.
Is this what you voted for?
Not only did I vote for the president 3 times, I was one of the few Republicans.
Okay, this is pretty much the same thing, so we're going to skip that one. You know, but Marjorie basically saying, you know, that this is not putting America first. That's how she feels about going over to Venezuela, intervening in their situations they have going over there. All right. Let's get to the events of today. You know, basically with Maduro basically being captured and having to go to court in America, guys. Remember, like they said, it was a $50 million bounty that was placed on his head. He appeared today in front of a American court system, guys. Check this out.
End of the arraignment, a man spoke in Spanish to Maduro saying that he will pay for what he has done. Maduro responded saying he's a kidnapped president and a prisoner of war.
Release Maduro right now!
Amid a backdrop,
and there were people all outside that were protesting, wanting him to be free, guys.
Protest in Manhattan. Former Venezuelan president turned illegitimate dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores pleaded not guilty to charges of narco-terrorism, importing cocaine, and weapons offenses. Maduro told the court, quote, "I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. I'm a decent man. I'm still president of my country." Maduro and Flores traveled to the courthouse by helicopter and an armored vehicle motorcade flanked by DEA agents.
Yeah, and in court today, he pleaded not guilty, guys.
Maduro and his co-defendants are accused of partnering with narco-terrorists like the Sinaloa cartel and the Tren de Aragua gang. Dating back to 1999, prosecutors say Maduro led an operation that provided law enforcement cover and logistical support to transport thousands of tons of cocaine from producers in Colombia to Venezuela and eventually Central America to then reach the United States.
This was a criminal organization that used the instrumentalities, facilities of the state to make Venezuela a hub of drug trafficking.
Prosecutors say in 2006, while serving as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maduro, quote, provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers.
So basically they're laying out everything that was displayed in court today, basically pointing the finger at Maduro for being a drug kingpin.
And facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds. Maduro and Flores are even accused of ordering the kidnappings and murders of those who threaten their drug empire. Today at an emergency UN Security Council meeting, Ambassador Mike Waltz insisted the case...
Yeah, they had to go in front of the UN because people were saying that this was completely against the law. Remember, I told y'all, Trump was in a bit of hot water because people, there are a lot of people that are against what he done. Even though there's a lot of people that's for what he done. There's a lot of people that's against it, which it had to go in front of the UN in the emergency meeting, guys.
Against Maduro is strong.
The overwhelming evidence of his crimes will be presented openly in U.S. court proceedings.
Today, lawyers for Maduro and Flores did not seek bail, but indicated that they would in later proceedings. The next court date is coming up on March 17th. Until then, Flores and Maduro will remain in federal custody in Brooklyn. Brett?
Nate Ford, Live Manhattan. Nate, thank you.
General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, detailing the meticulous months of intelligence prep work that went into the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela.
After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets. In early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events.
Maduro was staying between 6 and 8 different locations and being tracked by a fleet of secret stealth CIA drones flying above him, according to reporting in the New York Times. Reuters reported that the CIA had an asset close to Maduro, monitoring his every move. Mike Pompeo, former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, also former Secretary of State and a Fox News contributor. Great to have you with us today, Mike. Your thoughts, your reaction to this incredible operation that...
And y'all make sure if y'all enjoying what's going on, you double tap that screen to hit the like button and click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. Those are both ways to like the video, as well as make sure you're subscribing to the channel, man.
Used about 150 U.S. planes, not to mention the kind of long-term intelligence that we just described.
Well, Martha, it's great to be with you, and it warms my heart, and it makes me proud to be an American. Certainly what General Kane spoke to is true. Many months of detailed planning, amazing intelligence work. We often denigrate our intelligence officers. This was really first-class work. And it wasn't just those months. It is years of work that the American people have enabled our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to have the training, the equipment, the knowledge, that strategic effort over years built up a set of skills that no other nation in the world could have pulled this off, Martha. There's only one military that could have done this. And then the tactical effort, the ability to get the very surprise and the absolutely exquisite ballet that you saw, right? Bombs falling, electricity turned off, soldiers, helicopters, all deeply coordinated, the timing absolutely perfect to execute this in a way that allowed all of our equipment and, most importantly, all of our young warriors to get back home to their families is truly unequaled in recent American history. A kudos to each of them, and kudos to the American people for supporting these warriors in their efforts.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the news conference that we had after the Iran attack about the execution of that attack, the planning of it. It's interesting to see President Trump. I mean, he's got his eyes in a lot of different directions, clearly, in terms of potential targets or potential change. But this post from the Department of State, this is our hemisphere, and President Trump will not allow our security to be threatened. And then you have this reaction from the Chinese foreign minister's spokesperson condemning the United States for this, saying China expresses grave concern over the U.S. forced seizure and transfer out of the country of President Maduro and his wife, clear violation of international law and basic norms governing international relations. So China obviously didn't like to see this happen. Iran, all of them, Cuba had operations, Russia, and Maduro was their guy in Venezuela. Now he's gone. So what does it mean?
Yes, when that cast of characters is opposed to what you do, you probably did a pretty darn good thing, Martha.
Yeah.
And for the Chinese to call out lawlessness as if it's something they're not the number one violator of international law is really quite something. What does it mean? It means now that the Chinese won't have access to cheap Venezuelan oil in the same way that they have and with the same ease. It means that the Iranians efforts to transit illicit materials back and
You
forth.
hear them talking about that oil, and that's what they're saying about America, that basically we did what we did to take over their oil. Do y'all believe it?
Between Iran and Venezuela and our hemisphere here in the West will be more difficult. The Russians were proven once again to be terrible allies, right? The Cubans and the Russians have protected Maduro for years, and they couldn't stop the United States from an attack like this. I think the next dictator who says, hey, I'd like a few more Russian air defense systems to protect me is going to think twice about that, realize that they're nearly worthless when the power actually comes. And so I think this demonstrates once again that the right ally is the United States of America, and nations all across the world will see this. And dictators are surely sleeping a little more uneasy this evening as well.
So, to the two different areas of government that you once led, we know that John Ratcliffe at the CIA, obviously, they pulled off a very impressive operation here and deserve a lot of credit for what we saw play out. And then Secretary of State, which you also were, Marco Rubio, here he is defending and explaining this operation a bit in the face of some pushback on Sunday. Watch this.
The person who controls the police, he's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head, he is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them?
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in
It's
power.
very simple. You wanted us to
President.
land in 5 other military bases?
No, I'm asking why you chose that this was the limit of the military operation.
He was the guy who was claiming to be the president.
Right. Well, the
He was the
opposition.
top target.
Okay.
Your reaction to that?
Yes, look, we're all happy with what happened, but it's going to take a little bit of patience, and I think that's what you heard Secretary Rubio say. And so Director Ratcliffe and he have done really good work. I am confident in advance of this to talk with the folks who are now putatively in charge of Venezuela, to tell them our expectations for them, how it is we expect that they will behave in the aftermath of the decapitation of the leader of that country, not the president, but the guy who was in charge and controlled the military. Now it'll be up to those military leaders to conform to what it is the United States is going to demand from them. And if they don't, I'm confident that the support that the Venezuelan people will need to make this democratic transition simply won't be there. And I think now the opportunity that was created for those people in Venezuela, the very gentleman you had on the show earlier, the people of Venezuela who are celebrating not only in Venezuela but around the world, they now have their opportunity, and it'll take the patience to make the transition from where they were for these last, what I call a quarter century, to the next quarter century of a successful Venezuela.
Yeah, very important days, but a huge catalyst has happened over the weekend that can potentially produce the kind of change that you are talking about. Thank you so much, Secretary Pompeo. Always great to see you, sir. Happy New Year.
Dana, let me know if I get this straight. The left is defending a dictator who stole an election.
But only now, because
Which is the Democrats, guys. That's who we talking about.
during Trump's first term, they went after him for not removing Maduro.
Right.
Okay, and they're on video saying all of this, so it's not hard to go back and look all of those things up. Yesterday, the House Democrats had an emergency meeting to talk about their messaging because they're a hot mess. They are twisted all in knots about what are they going to say, and they think that their base wants them to say, like if President Trump said, we're going to cure cancer, they would say, leave cancer alone. Like, but if you just take a step back, it's no wonder that Democrats who are in swing states or in tough districts, they realize that the initial gut reaction to go against anything is going to make their lives harder in trying to win back 2026. But there was an alternative. For example, let's say you're really worried about Venezuelan migrants that have come to America, and you're upset that President Trump has removed that temporary protective status, right? And you say, okay, well, what is something that we could do where we could get something from Trump that we want? Well, you wanted Maduro gone before. I guess they're deciding if they still want him gone. They also think, well, it shouldn't be about oil, but they were the ones complaining when the oil was taken from the American companies or the rights were taken from the American companies years ago. But why can't they ever just say, you know what we should do? Let's go to the president tomorrow and ask him if he's willing for anybody that's from Venezuela that doesn't have pending criminal charges against them or some sort of sexual charge against them or like some sort of conviction, could they stay? while this gets worked out. Like, try to go to him and get something for your support for something that you wanted under Trump and Biden, his only term and Trump's first term. That doesn't make sense.
Do you know, Greg, what the Democrat policy is on Venezuela?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
They don't see a dictator, they see a father.
Ooh.
A father with a son and 3 stepsons. And once again, Trump, the authoritarian, has split a family up. And you know what? Oh, you can mock.
Here y'all go. You know what I'm saying? I told y'all there was a lot of Trump is facing blowback for what he did.
Me, or you can laugh at me. I don't care. But what I see there is nothing short of a tragedy, especially around the holidays to split them up like that. You know, I love that the Dems were so upset that Trump sent Maryland dad to Central America and demanded him back for due process. Now they're mad that we bring this guy here from Venezuela for due process. Shouldn't they be happy? Well, we could say, but we're just doing due process, you know. But you got to ask, you know, when you look, if you're a young leftist, you got to think for yourself and go, why are all these protests interchangeable? Why are the protesters interchangeable? Why do the signs all look alike and readily available? And I get it, you know, you're the opposition. Democrats are the opposition, but it's kind of funny when you start opposing yourself. The Dems will now defend anyone, including if it means contradicting their own beliefs from a few years ago. Chris Murphy was at Bozo, right? He was screaming to get Maduro out, and now he's like, oh, this is terrible. He said that the fact that Maduro was still in Venezuela was proof that Trump loves dictators. And now he's going, how dare he do this? So you got to I don't know. Also, and I'll shut up because I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm just basically winging it. You got to love a party that violates federal law with sanctuary cities and then imploring their own law enforcement to defy or hinder ICE, then telling you that you're violating the law. That is like Ilhan Omar accusing you of incest.
That's been proven, right? I mean, no, I don't know what this is. The marrying. No,
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just saying how ridiculous it is that anybody would accuse you of it. I just chose Ilhan Omar.
I out of the blue.
Yeah.
It seems like they wanted Trump in prison, but they want Maduro free. Is that the Democrat strategy?
Right. If any law is meant to be broken, if it in any way has to do with President Trump, here, however, what's more simple than a criminal indictment that, by the way, the original one issued under Biden's watch, and then hauling that person to court? For some reason, this absolutely implodes because it all occurred under President Trump's watch. The thing that I'm most surprised by in that montage was Strega Nona there, the one who was in her 90s, who doesn't remember, who questions the authority by which we are arresting Maduro when she's the one that should remember. I'm now used to, unfortunately, all of these Democrat politicians and all of these sophomores that are protesting outside, forgetting everything about history. But I would think someone of her age would remember exactly what happened, for example, with Noriega, and maybe back to the 1800s case I mentioned earlier, because maybe she's that old. But the whole point is that, again, to go back to that criminal jurisdiction, even if a defendant never set foot here, even if everything illegal happened off this shore, it is well settled, even if, per the Noriega comment, even if the capture violated international law and we improperly and unlawfully permeated that airspace and the sovereign land, even if the invasion itself was unlawful, which, by the way, all of those things are not here, even so, nothing strips the court of the jurisdiction over this criminal case. So people like Kamala, look, I know Kamala didn't pass the bar in the first time. I know she has an issue with knowing the law. So maybe I'm here to remind her that, yes, he squarely belongs in that court. And the court specifically talked about, even if this is someone who was abducted, and here she's the one that says, correct, he is a dictator. Correct, he is not an actual sovereign president or state, so leader of a state. So she should know more than anyone that this was the most lawful thing about it. And unlike Noriega, this was safer. We didn't even need to use Metallica, right? So everyone here, it just goes to show that they have to say something. They have to have that clickbait. They can't simply say, thank you, President Trump, for hauling in the dictator that deserves to be in the defendant chair, that deserves
They taking up for Trump, guys.
to answer for millions of people whose lives have been ruined and hundreds of thousands of people who have died under his impervious watch. But unfortunately, they just want that dopamine hit. They want the followers rather than constituents to applaud them.
Congress has every right to expect to be made aware of a military attack on land, and they should have the right to be consulted. We have a history in recent years where at least the Gang of Eight, the heads of the Intelligence Committee and the leaders in both the House and the Senate, there's a trust that the president, regardless of any party. I don't know about the young lady, the woman you were talking about, what may have motivated her to say what she said. But this is why I think it's incumbent upon the president to come before the country. I think the country wants to understand, I think we all understand, we got a narco terrorist and we've arrested him. And that was the right thing to do. I think the confusion comes as people are trying to digest, what does this mean for military action in Venezuela? Should we expect another? The president, I think, flippantly and in his own way said that the vice president, who is now the president, she should expect worse if she does not follow what we're saying. I think the confusion for a lot of people, Emily, and those around the table, is when President Trump in the press conference at Mar-a-Lago, which I watched very closely and watched Secretary Rubio very closely, when he was asked what's going to happen in Venezuela now, and he said, we're going to run the country. I think that's what really provoked and catalyzed a lot of this reaction. I think the Democrats are reacting the way some are. You're right, Jesse and Dana, there's an inconsistency in what, and Greg, you pointed out something that Senator Murphy said. There's an inconsistency there that you have to fess up to. But if you're the president, you have to give a message to the country, explain what we did, explain why we did it, what running the country means. And I've seen some people in the administration talk about this term FAFO, which I think they really mean mess around and find out. That can't be a governing military doctrine. You said it well, Greg, just a few seconds ago. It almost feels like we're winging some of it. We didn't wing the military part of it. Jay Clayton is not winging the exercise of the legal instruments that he's using, as Emily said, but it doesn't sound like we know fully why we're there, what we're trying to accomplish, and frankly, what the Dunroe doctrine actually is.
He did invoke my name. I didn't say anybody winging anything.
You used the word winging, not about him.
He was winging it.
I said I was winging it, Harold. How dare you? By the way, you did mention one thing about like running this before Congress. There is no trust. If it would have been leaked immediately, and those people would have died.
I disagree with you.
Oh no, we know it. You had Democrats basically telling the military to disobey orders. There's no way after that Trump is going to tell anybody anything. In terms of saying run the country, he's basically saying we're cutting up their credit cards for now. That's all it is.
There's been no example of anybody leaking anything under President Trump. And I hate to say this, but the only time anyone is talking about military...
Harold, they weaponized the intelligence.
That's not fair. That's not fair. The only leaking was by the president's own team on a tweet site.
You're wrong. I'm right.
Do y'all agree with either party, guys? Let me know. They most definitely having a heated debate about this whole situation.
Happy New Year.
Was inside the courthouse for the hearing. He's also an attorney and retired NYPD.
More on what took place in court today, guys.
Inspector with a lot of knowledge across the judicial board here on how law enforcement works. Paul, great to have you with us. Your takeaway from what we watched in that courthouse today.
Well, Martha, I think you put your finger right on it. I don't think has entirely got the message that he is no longer the president of Venezuela. In fact, it's one of the things he said in court, and I don't think reality has bitten yet. He said that...
Now, the vice president of Venezuela at first was demanding the return of Maduro, but he has chosen to cooperate with America. That's crazy.
He is innocent. His demeanor in court was very much still of somebody who considers himself a world leader, so much so that the hearing started with him starting to spout off a little bit to the judge before he was actually asked. And in fact, the judge had to stop him and said, there'll be time for that later, but right now you're not going to do that. The judge took control of the courtroom. So in terms of demeanor, he still is a proud, in his mind,
The
leader.
vice president of Venezuela is working with America. At first, she was demanding the release of Maduro. Now she is working with America.
Of a nation, while as his wife sitting next to him seemed a lot more intimidated, shrunken, and bewildered. I don't think yet that Nicolas Maduro realizes quite what the future holds for him.
Yeah, well, now he's back in the holding facility at the correctional facility in Brooklyn, where there have been a sort of notorious crew of inmates over the course of recent history. Ghislaine Maxwell was held there. Let's put it up. Sean Diddy Combs was there. Sam Bankman-Fried, Luigi Mangione, and now Nicolas Maduro. All have been in this
a lineup of all the people that have been held at the Brooklyn MDC, guys. We got Ghislaine Maxwell, we got Diddy, we got Sam, we got Luigi, and now we have Maduro.
Same facility in Brooklyn. They closed down where Epstein was, the Manhattan version of this, after that whole debacle. Give us a sense of what life is like at the Brooklyn facility.
Well, it's not good. I mean,
I agree. Whoever put that down there, they said that's a hell of a lineup, ain't it? Let's talk about it, man.
First of all, they're holding more prisoners than the place was designed for. And if you don't want to take my word for it, you can take Ghislaine Maxwell's, because while everybody thought, okay, she's just being a diva, she actually listed some of the depredations of the place, and she's probably right. It's overcrowded, it's old. There's a reason that they're redoing the one in Manhattan here behind me. So, yeah, he's not staying in the Taj Mahal, but yet, despite having been there already, he doesn't seem to really think that, any of this is going to affect him or intimidate him, and he does seem to be defiant and ready to fight.
Paul Mauro, thank you very much. Great reporting today from this incredible story that broke over the weekend, and the military operation was extraordinary as well. We'll get into that in just a moment.
Professor and Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley is here. Jonathan, welcome to you. First off, it's been a big day. What struck you most so far?
Well, his statement in court was remarkable, that he's still the president of his country. You would think that the prison jumpsuit would disabuse him of that.
I agree. I disagree a little bit. Just because he's in jail doesn't make him the president. Does not make him the president of his country. But he most definitely is in jail. They saying that he got up in court and told the people that, hey, I'm still the president of Venezuela. The people told him, absolutely not.
Concept, but certainly over 50 countries around the world would not accept that, and I don't think the court will either. This is Noriega 2.0. I mean, he is going to be arguing that he is still the head of state entitled to immunity, just that very few people believe that's true. And he's in a worse position than Noriega. So I expect that they're going to stick the landing on this. This is going to go to trial, and he stands an excellent chance of being convicted. I mean, the only scarier thing than that operation for Maduro should be the superseding indictment. I mean, they have a lot on him, more than most of us imagined.
And that goes back to when the CIA got on the ground there. We are told, dating back to August 2025, when the CIA unit deployed to Venezuela to start monitoring Maduro and his wife's movements. When you look at the charges here, narco-terrorism, cocaine importation, conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, conspiracy to possess machine guns, the wife's charges, cocaine, possession of machine guns.
Oh my goodness, hold on, let's read it down. Let's see. Narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive device against the U.S. Those are his charges, guys. Wow.
Machine guns, the wife's charges, cocaine, possession of machine guns. It's no wonder AG Barr.
This is his wife, and this is what she's charged with: cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. Oh wow.
Was on Newsroom earlier, defending the capture of Maduro based on what we know about him and his wife. Listen.
Over our entire history, presidents have had a lot of latitude deploying military forces and using force in a targeted way to deal with threats to the United States. They have been violating international law by using their sovereign territory and their de facto control to conduct hostile activities that are slaughtering Americans. What are we supposed to do? Just sit here and let a narco state act like that? You can't use law enforcement to prosecute them over there and get their cooperation because they are the problem.
Based on what we know to be fact from our own U.S. intelligence gathered over months of monitoring these two individuals, why do you fathom anyone is taking issue with his capture?
Well, I was baffled by all the Democratic members that came out and said this was clearly illegal. There's existing.
I told y'all Trump was in hot water. The Democrats are saying this is illegal, against the law. So whoever came here earlier trying to argue with me saying no one had a problem with it, there you go. The Democrats had a problem with it.
Case precedent, much of it was laid. The foundation of that was laid by Bill Barr. I mean, this is in many ways a case that was built on the foundation that Bill Barr laid. And you see that coming out of the Noriega cases, that these arguments failed. This is solidly within those navigational beacons to hold him for trial. They have not only these recordings that they say show him taking an active role in the criminal enterprise, but this wasn't just simply criminal enterprise. This was a family enterprise. And so you've got his son, his wife, with facing very strong evidence. But you also have high-ranking former associates who have pled guilty.
What's up, K-Sam?
And they very well could be cooperating witnesses, including the former head of military intelligence in his country. That is an extremely daunting prospect for any criminal defense attorney.
So now he and his wife have returned to this jail in Brooklyn. What do we watch for next? Obviously, March 17th is going to be the next big date. But based on how everything went today, how do you anticipate things going from here?
Well, there's a couple of things that they're going to have to address, Sandra. One is going to be, how are you going to pay your lawyers? Mm-hmm. Now, it's possible that they've already asked to speak to the consulate, which is their right as foreign nationals under our treaty obligations. It may be that the Venezuelan government has already paid for counsel. If so, I would strongly encourage them to make a lump sum payment, because that government may change and be less forthcoming with that type of support. But the government can demand proof that legal fees are coming from lawful, legitimate sources. And then after they resolve some of those threshold issues, then you're in it. I've been on this side as criminal defense counsel in classified national security cases. And you have to go through these documents. One of the defense counsel, maybe two, will be designated as cleared counsel. And they will sit in a metal room called a SCIF, and they will look through all of these documents, and they will file challenges. That's why this isn't going to go anywhere for over a year as they work through this stuff.
Wow. All right, Jonathan Turley on all of that for us. Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right.
Yeah, we getting everything it is to know, guys.
Hi, everyone.
We getting
I'm
it
Dave
out.
Carino, along with Emily Campagno, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. A defiant dictator having his day in court ousted Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro, claiming that he was kidnapped, and he and his wife plead not guilty to a sweeping list of drug trafficking and weapons charges. Maduro telling the judge, quote, "I am innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man. I am still president of my country." All of this comes after a breathtaking dead-of-night capture at the hands of the U.S. military. President Trump defending the move.
Maduro says he was kidnapped.
To arrest Maduro.
What really played is the fact that he sent millions of people into our country from prisons and from mental institutions and drug dealers, and every drug addict in that country, in his country, was sent into our country. But the fact that he sent drugs into our country, we're stopping it rapidly.
So what comes next for Venezuela? Interim President Delcy Rodriguez is now...
See, and there go the vice president that is basically running things now that wanted, shout out to Thomas, Must See TV already. Thomas, man, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for the super chat, bro.
Vowing to cooperate with Washington after President Trump warned that she could suffer a fate worse than Maduro if Caracas does not work.
Now, you heard him say that Trump basically told her she could be in trouble too if she does not cooperate with America. Because at first, her stance was release Maduro, that she didn't want him locked up in America, basically. But then after she got that warning from Trump, she changed her position, and now she is working hand in hand with the American authorities, guys.
With his team. The goal? Likely access to Venezuela's vast oil reserves after U.S. companies were pushed out decades ago.
Don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
We're in charge. We're going to have the big oil companies go in. They're going to fix the infrastructure. They're going to invest money. We're not going to invest anything. We're going to just take care of the country. We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow...
Y'all heard what he said. We need access to their oil and other things in their country. We need access to their oil and other things. And could this all be about oil, guys? I'm just saying.
Allow us to rebuild their country.
And Happy New Year, everybody. We get right back to it. Jesse, maybe start with you on just the overall news, the big picture, the shock and awe of it.
Sure. Audacious, Dana. First, big props to Delta Force. These guys go in on Night Stalkers in the dead of night, take on enemy fire, land, blowtorch the doors off this fortress, kill all of these Cuban bodyguards, and then capture this tyrant and his wife right as they were about to get into the steel safe house. They cuff them, they bring them home. Absolutely incredible when you think about what could have gone wrong. You could have had a Mogadishu situation under Clinton. You could have had hostages like they did in Iran under Jimmy Carter. But this was a perfect operation. You know what it reminds me of? My back surgery. Donald Trump's like my surgeon. He's elegant and he's precise. And he went in there with the perfect extraction. You get this guy out of here. But Dana, this is not regime change. This is just trying to change the regime's behavior. Remember, the regime is still intact. So you have this vice president who we're going to have to deal with. Now, I don't know whether she is an ideologue, a thief, a nationalist. We're about to find out.
Might be our asset.
She could be. We don't know yet, but time will tell. But when Trump says we're going to run the country, what he means is we have a naval blockade, so we control the cash flow. We know what goes in, what goes out. So we know who gets paid. And if we don't want them to get paid, we can decide that. Or we can send in more commandos or more missiles, depending on people, if they behave or not. So what does behaving look like? That's the big question. They have to stop doing business with our enemies, the cartels, the communists, and Hezbollah. They have to stop pouring narcotics and migrants into our country. And they have to give us back our oil rights, which they stole. And judges have agreed these have been stolen from us. So if you have it's basically like the Spanish Saudi Arabia. They have more oil under the ground than the Saudis do. So you get the Western companies back in there, you get it back online. And what does that do? Makes Venezuela more prosperous, America more prosperous, keeps energy prices low, which starves the Putin war machine, keeps inflation down, which is good for the economy. And it isolates the Iranians and it makes us the seller of oil to China. Now, we might not have elections for quite some time. We might have to bribe a lot of people in Venezuela, but I'd rather have them on our payroll than have them on the payroll of the cartels and the communists, which is why we'll be going down and broadcasting all next week live from Caracas.
I can't wait.
Johnny will be on the streets, getting the pulse of the people, doing man on the street, and that is something everybody will look forward to.
I can't wait to see the movie clips he pulls.
That's right.
That will go with
in
it.
Espanol.
Harold, one thing that was interesting was the unity amongst Republicans and Democrats in Florida on this action.
Without question, first of all, Happy New Year to everybody, and it's good to be with everybody around the table. I was pleased to see that 2DP, and I was expecting also some pushback from some about whether or not Congress was advised or Congress was consulted or even Congress was communicated with. But we'll come to that in a little bit. I agree with Jesse. The execution of this mission and we think about some of the nonsensical things that some say about how DEI has ruined our military has done Operation Midnight Hammer, and they've done this as well as other things since President Trump has been in office flawlessly. And this is another example of it. I applaud Jay Clayton, the Southern District, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District here, who obviously understands, as he shared this morning, how serious this case is, how prepared they have to be. And equally important, I think that Emily would agree, our system of law declares that you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. And the U.S. Attorney said that this morning. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky for me. I don't know exactly what the primary motive was for going in and getting Maduro, who is a bad guy. I understand why the Florida congressional delegation celebrated as a former member of the Tennessee.
Can we get 15 more people on that like button, guys? Double tap the screen. It most definitely helps out the channel. That's how you hit the like button. Can we get 15 more of y'all to hit the like button? Get the likes up past 400 if you don't mind. It helps out the channel, guys. Make sure you're subscribing if you're new. I'm basically giving y'all everything that I've seen on this situation with the Venezuelan president being captured and brought to America by Trump, guys.
Delegation sitting on this
Thank
table.
You to everybody that hit that like button
as well. But when the president said that, and I heard Mr. Rubio say we're going after narco terrorists, which we should have, and which we have, and I think that others have also said we need to meet these drug dealers where they are. And this guy is a drug dealer, and I believe that the U.S. Attorney's Office here will bring justice. The question is, are we there for the narco issue, or are we there because they have mismanaged the production of their natural resources? And one will say both. I give President Trump a lot of credit. He just basically said it out loud, said the quiet part out loud, said we're there also to ensure that they produce oil in a way that is conducive and consistent with the kind of reserves.
Black, thank you for supporting me with your taxes. Also support me by hitting the like button before you get deported. Now say one more smart thing. I'm going to get you right up out of here. Yeah, how about
they
that?
Have. And I wonder aloud if that's what the country wants. President Trump a few weeks ago delivered a national televised address to talk about some of his economic accomplishments. If he's watching us this evening, I would encourage him to give another address to tell us exactly what we're hoping to do, what we're planning to do, and how long he thinks he.
All right, so we got surgery, whatever your name is, let's get you right up out of here. You got deported. We'll holler at you. Any more takers? Anybody else want to take a long trip on they favorite rocket ship into the sky to where you never return? Yeah, we got one of them out here. Anybody else? Just say I in the chat. I'll most definitely deport you. You can get deported right along with him.
Take us to do the things he wants us to do there. Because I happen to believe that focusing on our own hemisphere is something we should be doing. I've been saying since I've been on this show that this should be a priority of the administration. But if the priority is not catalyzing all of this growth and rule of law and governance in these countries to help those countries survive.
All right, let's get Master Gamers right up out of here. Congratulations, you just got deported. Go back to where you came from. We don't need you here. Thank you. Let's get John Doe right up out of here as well. Yeah, let's get you deported. We'll holler at you too. Go back to wherever you came from. We ain't got to have you here either. Hold on. Let me look. It's a lot of people want to get up out of here. Let's get you going.
It helped those countries flourish so they won't come to our country, but it's to help our oil companies and us make more money. I think the country would love to know a few more of the details there. But I'm one Democrat and one American who says congratulations to our military, and I say congratulations to President Trump for having the courage to go get this stuff.
I didn't censor anyone. Kay, let's not start any. I let everybody have their own opinions. When you go to talking about telling me to be quiet and shut up, no disrespect will be tolerated towards the channel's broadcaster. We will most definitely deport you the fastest. Yeah, so if you don't like it, I can deport you too. You can go right with them.
Emily, how do you think court went today for the Southern District of New York and Maduro?
I thought it was an interesting snapshot into the tenor that we can expect from Maduro and Flores and both of their respective attorneys. And respectively, Maduro, defiant. He still thinks he's in charge no matter what room he's in. His wife seemed a little bit more subservient, a little bit more defeated, as Paul Morrow said. Obviously, she has claimed that she broke a rib during the abduction. The attorneys came out sort of establishing assertiveness right away. And obviously they talked about fees. They talked about the voluminous and complicated discovery that we can expect. But I think this underscores and highlights why the Southern District of New York, they are the gold standard venue to hear this. And we know that they have established this history in the past. And people are saying, why there? And how can we haul this person here? Since the 1800s, this country has settled that it doesn't matter if someone is abducted in a foreign country, and it doesn't matter if there are interests that are harmed. We can have it be in any venue, and the SDNY is, again, that gold standard for that reason. So if there's international criminal conduct, then we can hold essentially that prosecution anywhere that the U.S. interests have been harmed, any venue. SDNY in particular, however, number one, all money laundering and all of the banks, the financial headquarters of the world. So sort of conversationally.
All you have to do is double tap the screen, my guy who asked, how do you like it? Double tap the screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots and hit that thumbs up, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Every dollar flows through New York, even if it's proverbial. We have a long-standing relationship, the SDNY, with people like FinCEN and the DEA and all of those elite agencies, and the special elite quality of our prosecutors there to deal specifically with the narco-terrorists, to deal specifically with the drug lords, to deal specifically with these global thugs that are used to having their way in any room, that really cannot be overstated. So I think going into this, and the judge himself said this, at the age of 92, he sounds a lot younger, but he said, look, I am ensuring that this defendant will have a fair trial. And if the appeals record is any indicator of what we are going into, then the success of SDNY is to be totally expected.
Greg, the Biden-Harris administration had a $25 million bounty on his head, but they didn't do anything. Right?
They didn't.
They just waited to see if somebody would capture him. And then it's interesting to see some Democrats being so outraged that he actually did something.
I fear, Dana, that I've lost the ability to make complete sentences.
Oh, after the time off?
Yeah, I've spent 2 weeks with a 1-year-old. I've not had a conversation that is about anything.
Okay. Would you like to sing us a song about how you feel?
Yes.
Which is your favorite
Venezuela. What was it? Oh, yeah, 25 million. I think Trump should give that to the Delta Force. Right? Again, Democrats, they'll throw money at anything, but they won't actually do it. I feel like this is like, Trump is kind of like the parents that become the trustees of a drug-addled celebrity. Like, he's just going over there, he's just running the business until you can get back on your feet. The irony of this golden age is that it's got to be great to be a commie mayor in New York City, because Trump is outside your kingdom solving all of your problems. You know, it's like staunching the flow of drugs, reducing illegal immigration, slashing crime by gangs, easing the burden on your social programs that are designed for the citizens, all the things that we were going through under a Democrat mayor, under Adams and under Biden. But now Trump is handing Mamdani a soft landing, a honeymoon. All these horrible problems that existed under Biden are now going away. And, you know, Trump, I know people are saying, but Trump's against forever wars. Well, what's the opposite of a forever war? It's not no war. It's precise surgical action, taking out drug boats, bombing nuke facilities, extracting a dictator. So you don't have forever wars. It's not a forever war when you're lancing a zit. A forever war is what Trump is dealing with domestically with Democrats. You know, this complex fraud, you know, that is waged against us every day. And it's like, it's such a contrast between Trump's decisive action and kind of the Kafka-esque, you know, corruption of Democrat rule in every city that continues to keep going. Now, there's an argument, and Harold touched on it briefly, but then scampered away from it because he knew I would crush him like a bug.
Scampered.
Trump, you know, says it's about drugs, and people will say, well, if it's about drugs, why didn't he go after Mexico? Mexico is the primary source of fentanyl. You know, Venezuela isn't. Well, you do Venezuela so you don't have to do Mexico. You start small and you send a message. You work your way up to the ladder, to the big stuff. And who knows, you may not have to do it, because as you can see, people will start cooperating. Yeah. The other interesting thing that people haven't brought up, but I will now, is that, you know, where does all the fentanyl precursors come from?
China.
Exactly, Dana. Thank you for completing that thought. Who was in Caracas? Is that how you say it? Hours before Maduro was snatched? Top Chinese diplomats. Why are they there? Because they're Maduro's sugar daddy. And basically, Venezuela is the crack house for China, where they pimp out whatever they need. So China's role in Venezuela is enough basis for the Monroe Doctrine to go in there and clean it up.
Peace through strength.
Yeah, what just happened?
I think you did well. You did well. I think she would be very proud of you.
Yeah.
You just need a little throw up on the sweater. I think you'll be fine. It'll get you
there was a lot of vomit. Some of it mine.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
All right, so that was everything pretty much we know about the situation going on in Venezuela. Some people say Trump did a great job by capturing basically the president and his wife of Venezuela and basically bringing them to justice. Some people saying what he did was unconstitutional. Up to y'all, man. It's up to y'all, whichever way y'all lean on it. Me, I just bring you the news as I see it. And, man, let y'all do your own research and find out what's going on. Like I said, it's a lot of people that feel like this is all about all. As we heard all mentioned a couple times off in a couple of these videos regarding this situation, they most definitely brought up the oil situation. We heard Trump himself say that basically we taking over the oil supply. So it's a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of people that feel like this is all about oil and really has nothing to do with drugs, that basically we just went over there and took their president to basically take over their oil. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it in the comments. You know, it's completely up to y'all which side you fall on. The Democrats are saying that this was unconstitutional and basically against the law because they weren't briefed on what was going on when Trump sent the U.S. forces to Venezuela to capture the president. Thank you for that gift, man. I also talked about Will Smith, guys. He's basically facing allegations where there is a violinist who has came out and basically said that he was actually harassed by someone in Will Smith's camp. Basically didn't implicate Will, but basically said somebody in his camp basically actually harassed him. I don't know. That's just what was put forth. I most definitely have it in this video at the beginning, and then we went all the way down through there with the Venezuelan situation. Remember that the Venezuelan vice president, which is a female, basically at first she was asking for the Venezuelan president to be released, but Trump gave her a warning and said that she could be in more trouble by doing that than what the Venezuelan president is in. So she changed her stance and basically is working with America now. As they keep us updated on all of these situations, I'll most definitely keep y'all updated on all these situations. Make sure if you haven't, take time to double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click the 3 dots and hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new, if you like this form of entertainment, guys. We're most definitely on our way to 59K, so every subscribe counts. So subscribe, guys. And most definitely stay safe until I see y'all again. That pretty much wraps up the program, guys. I gave y'all all the information I had. I hope you like the videos as well as the commentary, and I hope you come back to see me, man. So make sure you subscribe, turn your notification bell on to all so you don't miss anything when I go live, guys. And basically, like I said, y'all stay safe out there. Shout out to my new subscribers as well as the old ones. Shout out to all of my members. Memberships are available on this channel by clicking the money sign. You can most definitely become a member to the channel. Costs about $5, the same amount as a bag of chips these days, man. So make sure you support the channel in either way. You can just hit the like button. If you can't afford to be a member, just hit the like button. It's most definitely appreciated, and it most definitely helps out the channel, guys. Shout out to my moderators for keeping this chat running smooth. Sometimes I don't know what I'd do without y'all, man. I most definitely appreciate each and every one of y'all as well. So with that being said, y'all already know how this go. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be safe. I'm gone, y'all.